Around 3.5 years ago, I made a YouTube video with an experimental series, questioning sanity. The first game was Chicory, a colorful tale. The demo anyways. Long story short, the series ended because the joke were pretty much hit or miss. So scripting was better for me rather than improv. But one of the things I was scared about the game was the story mode. It felt like it was gonna be our character will always look up to Chicory, a character in the game, and just be delusional with their decision. Couple of years later, I started playing the full version of the game. I was worried about it, but still hoping for the best. So, was the game really good? Or was it poorly executed? Let's find out. You play as whatever your name is because you can choose your own nickname, aka Momo. Been a while since I last did that. And yes, Momo is a Nepali dish. And yes, there is a colon in the name. Side note, I'm actually glad that I could actually put a colon in the character's name. I was actually a bit worried and scared that I might break the game or I might break the whole program or something within the codes because I had the colon in my name. But no, it was perfectly working, so good job to the programming team to make sure that happens. I think. I really don't know how easy that is to implement. I am not a programmer. Anyway, you play as a dog who was a janitor until all the colors were gone. You saw the brush, you borrowed it, and thus your story begins. Yeah, as always, I'm being very vague here when it comes to the story, mostly not to spoil much. But you have to trust me when I say the story is pretty good, going well beyond my expectation. My fear was that the story would be one-minded, just Chicory is great, Chicory is never wrong, Chicory is amazing, all that delusion. That isn't the case. Yes, Momo looks up to Chicory, and yes, there are times that Momo tries to protect Chicory, but they are not that delusional. They still make their choices and still do things even if it's against Chicory's will. Side note, Momo's gender is basically whatever the characters or the player prefer their gender to be. So for the sake of this review, I'm gonna call Momo they as a generalization. But yeah, the story is great. It's really good and it has its twists and turns that I personally like. I would talk about them, but then we would go more in a spoiled territory, and I'm not really comfortable about talking like that in the branding, especially I'm recommending the game and everything like that. I might talk about it, most likely will talk about it in my Patreon director's cut and everything, patreon.com/WeirdoMaxim, so if you're interested in it, I'll make a video about it. Let's talk about the gameplay, and it's solid. Kind of. Because you have the paintbrush, you can color, well, everything. The buildings, the clothes, heck, even people's skin/fur color. Weirdly enough. But the problem is, the colors feel limited. You get 4 colors in each area, which even then you can't go finer details, as you might want to darken the color to shadow, or maybe you want to have stripes on the leaves or whatever. Yes, you do get custom colors maker later in the game, but that's very late in the game. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but for the game about brushes and strokes and coloring everything, this game is too simplified. Look, if you're an average gamer, it works, yeah. 4 area, 4 paints per area, going around, just painting very quickly, yeah, that works, whatever. But if you're an artist, and if you really, really like this game, I would imagine you want to try to, color the details, color the shadows and everything like that, and make the world you live in more beautiful, paint it more beautiful and everything. Yes, I get what they were trying to do. You are just a janitor who got the paintbrush, so your art style isn't the greatest as Chicory is or whatever. But even then, I want to make sure that I want to just paint, for example, the photo frame. And I just want to paint a photo frame and not the painting itself, but the game makes you paint all of it, the frame and the photo together. And that's just one of many simplifications. I get it. There are some simplifications, but at the same time, giving us a bit more detail would be more liberal, more freedom, more something. It would be, I don't know what the right word is, but just keeping it simple is fine. But making it too simple, that's where the problem lies. I might be very picky on this subject, but I don't think people would mind if you have more options, especially after late in the game or even when you finish the art school events. But we didn't get that, and that kinda sucks. Let's move on, because there's more than color in this game. This game is a puzzle game, so you have to solve puzzles to move to the next place. And honestly speaking, the puzzles are not that difficult. This isn't to say it's a bad thing, mind you. In fact, it makes sense why the puzzles are easy. This game is meant for all ages. And honestly, the puzzles is still satisfying to solve. Just don't expect anything mind-blowing when you get into the game. Except the boss fight. The difficulty curve for that is some reason spiked up. Like, you have to learn the pattern in Snap, you have to learn how to fight it and everything. For some reason, that's just up. So yeah, the difficulty curve is all over the place for this game. But most of the time, it's relaxing, it's easy, and it's calm. There's also where you can go around and gather resources, new paint styles, in which I say, please get the paint bucket ASAP, because that helps with coloring so much. And secrets and new decor locations, and yes, you can decor places. And there's some events around that too, which is pretty cool. I am starting to see a pattern in this channel. But yeah, it has its moments. Well, the intensity is intense, but the game is relaxing to play. It's fun and it's explorable. You can explore all the place, and the game encourages you. As the more places you explore, the more things, like maybe the game aren't really trying to make me do this, and the more you do that, the more rewards you get, the more places you go, and it's a very interesting feeling of exploring and getting rewarded for it. And this game helps with that as well. Speaking of rewarding, coloring the world, while it is limited in my opinion, it is still so fun to do. I love the presentation on how the world is built. It's basically a coloring book, the game. And I'm like a 5-year-old just coloring everything because I can. The coloring book they made, or the art style of the coloring book, was perfect for this game. And I wouldn't change that for anything. Spot on, no complaints here. Music, however, though. How do I say this? The music is amazing. It's missing something. I know, just hear me out. Lena Raine did an amazing job with Chicory's music. From orchestra to electric, heck, I think Eyes in the Darkness is one of my favorites he did. The problem is, and as a musician I hate to say this, there's something missing. An extra nudge, an extra push that sometimes makes you want to just dance with the beat, or just sit back and listen to the music and just relax. I hate saying that because in my opinion this is the hardest part about making music. Hitting the vibe. Yes, you can make the music that fits the character, fits the stage, yada yada yada. But to just hit it on the spot, and to make it feel like you are in the game, and then beyond that, that's very difficult. That is very, very hard. Listen, Lena, if you're ever watching this, first of all, I am so sorry about this. I really like your song. I really like your music. I really like your piece. I really like what the tracks in this game. The Eyes of the Darkness, Appy's Foothill. Heck, a lot of endgame music is really good. It's just there are numbers of tracks in this game that makes me want to do the criticism in this topic, I guess you could say. There's numbers of tracks that is enough for me to give this critic. But I am just nitpicking as a musician to a musician. And second of all, just take this in a grain of salt, because I'll be honest, I haven't mastered to hit that vibe. So for all we know, I probably am talking nonsense. Just make good music and we'll be bopping. Side note, did a bit of research and I found out she also did Celeste music, which I think she perfectly mastered it on the vibe of that game. But we are talking about Chicory here, not Celeste. Still, I just wanted to know that she's a phenomenal musician. Moving on. And I think that pretty much sums up the game pretty well. It's not the best game, but who cares? It's still a fun game to play. It could be better, but the way it is now, it works. And I had fun playing this game. And in the end, they went beyond my expectation. The game is good. Chicory, A Colorful Tale, is a fun game for all ages, and in the end, that's all that matters. I recommend playing this game. It has a satisfying puzzle, amazing story, and great presentation. Color away.